I find it's really crazy the way the system works here. I've reported the abuse and incest, child rape in my family. My sisters, my brother, and even a little niece as well. And in order for the system to protect a person with status and social standing like Hickman, and not only to protect Hickman and the ex-Chief Justice, but lawyers and the system, they'll do anything to protect themselves and the reputation. We've been victims of a family situation. I'm 55. 5 generations of my family have been raped and abused. The last, I was in Ottawa in 2006, making the world aware of what's happened to my family. Well, my niece's children, 2 of them, while I was in Ottawa doing this, the 5th generation, her 2 daughters, Betty Ann's 2 children, were here in Newfoundland in 2006 in court because they were being prostituted on the streets from a pizza store by a Russian guy on Water Street. 5 generations. I'm 55 years old. When is the system and the lawyers and politicians going to stop protecting themselves in the corruption and start protecting the victims? Not only are we victims, but we're persecuted every day for telling the truth by the people who live next door and by the system for reporting to them when they don't want to hear what's happened. It's amazing. I understand. I thought I grew up in Canada with a democracy. If I were to wrap a towel around my head and go to the Manpower office or row in the Arbor in St. John's in a dory, I'd have a place to live. I'd be given an income. I don't even qualify for welfare. I'd be given training. I'd be given a job. And if I had problems, a lawyer would represent me or a group would come forward and help me. Well, I was born and raised in Grand Bank, Newfoundland, a province of Canada, and justice is the furthest thing from my existence than I ever know. I've been to the capital of our country and practically begged senators, MPs, from top to bottom. I went to the Deputy Chief Commissioner of the RCMP in Ottawa and spent more than an hour in his office because he was also a newfie from Twillingate. And Deputy Chief Superintendent Roger Brown and the lead investigator in my case, John Moore, grew up together in Twillingate. He said to me, "John Moore is an honest guy, Byron. I got to go to Newfoundland and talk to him." And I said, "Mr. Brown, I sure wish you would. I think he's an honest guy. But he don't have control of the situation here. Politics does." And he said, "I'll go to Newfoundland, and when I come back, I'll report to the Justice Department." He did that. He left Ottawa, gave me a number to stay in touch with his office. I stayed away from Parliament Hill for 4 days at his request because he wanted to see what he could do. And when he came back, he made his report to the Justice Department, and I was promptly told by the RCMP officers from Parliament Hill and his secretary that because of his involvement now and his report to the Federal Justice Department, that he could no longer communicate with me. I understand that. If he'd been a part of the investigation, I thank him. But I still don't have any report from the Justice Department. And that was 2006 during the summer. And now it's 2009. And as I said, I'm 5 generations of abuse here. It's about time it stopped, folks. I deserve justice. I deserve democracy. And I don't deserve the Waterford Hospital. I assure you of that. if I'm crazy, then you better be careful, because there are a lot crazier people than me on the streets. And I've tried all my life, for more than 40 years, to use a legal system that people say I have no respect for. I have more respect for the legal system than the people who control it. If they had respect for the legal system, I would have had justice in 1960 when I spoke to Sergeant Sturge. I would have had no need to go through all this persecution and torture and a life now to where my son showed me how to use a computer when he was 11 years old. And now my son is 22 years old, and this year will graduate with a degree from university. And I'm still going to court and still being persecuted. My son at 22 has lived with nothing but abuse and persecution of his dad ever since he's known me. That's got to stop. I won't allow my son to be abused. And if he is, I won't be around to see it. I want someone to give us justice. And I want the system to work for me. I'm a Canadian. I deserve it.